The Daily Variety, an offshoot of Variety magazine. Picture this: New York City, bright lights, Big Apple.
Oh, I'm scared. Someone might mug me.
Oh boy. Simon J. They called him Sime, S-I-M-E. Silverman is working miserably as a bookkeeper in the family money brokering business, but his true passion was vaudeville, circus, variety shows, all that fun entertainment of the 19th century.
Of the time before television.
Exactly, yeah. Before you can just tune in and tune out.
Of the time before we were all watching Mary Tyler Moore.
It's the first TV show. Do you know that? Silverman surrounded himself with performers and entertainers and had a side gig writing about the entertainment circuit for a publication called the Daily America, which didn't last long. But fortunately, he needed to wait for the next writing gig at the Daily Telegraph. But even there, that didn't last long.
Is he Spider-Man?
Oh, yeah. Peter Parker. Silverman, Peter Parker. Sorry.
Silverman!
I need those pictures, Silverman! Silverman was known for not sugarcoating his feelings about an act. After panning one performer, the performer went and pulled their advertising from the Daily Telegraph. So in turn, the Daily Telegraph pulled Silverman out of their employ. This incident infuriated Silverman. Silverman! That's the principal in Ferris Bueller, right?
Yeah, they're the same character.
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller's Peter Parker.
That's why he's sick, because he got bit by a
I
spider.
think there's more parallels in those two movies than we thought there were, now that I think about it. The Sausage King.
Cameron is obviously Eddie Brock, the Venom. So getting fired for being honest about an act, this infuriated Silverman. The kind of fury that brews a long-lasting mission statement and a passionate retaliative move.
Have you ever been so angry you wrote a mission statement?
I wrote a manifesto, but it was never a mission statement. If I broke it down and made it more cohesive, it probably would have been a mission statement. I got very Dorner on everybody about a month ago. No, I didn't. That's a lie. I keep it all inside. Silverman wanted to create an entertainment publication that had integrity, and his vision became a reality in 1905 with Variety magazine after he borrowed a lot of money from his dad. Variety was a weekly publication dedicated to covering the growing vaudeville and variety circuits. He deemed the magazine very prematurely as the world's greatest theatrical paper. It might have been the only one at the time. His wife Hattie is credited with designing the magazine's masthead header. Within the first year, it was already very popular, and even though they were surviving on a shoestring budget, they were able to hire staff to work on the paper. In January of 1907, Silverman apparently published within the pages of Variety the first film review in history. The problem is I don't know what movie it is. It was either a 7-minute comedy called The Exciting Honeymoon. 7-minute honeymoon sounds like waste of wedding cake.
Dang all I do.
It was either Exciting Honeymoon or a 13-minute film, A Life of a Cowboy, from Edwin S. Porter, who was the same man who did The Great Train Robbery.
I feel like My Life as a Cowboy is the documentary version of The Great Train Robbery. There's the fiction version and the non-fiction. It's like how people, they release 3D and non-3D versions now.
Yeah.
They weren't sure if movies were supposed to be real or fake back then, so they did both.
This was the backup stuff. Yeah. I know that we shot at you and we threw a train at you last time, but this one's going to be a little bit different.
This one's true.
Apparently, I was reading reviews at the time. They didn't know how to watch movies, so it wasn't like grading something as a cohesive drama. It was sort of like reviewing a series of incidents. Like bandits are attacking a saloon, and then there's a stagecoach, and then Native Americans attack, and then a young girl gets kidnapped. Whether it's the first film review or not, here's a review of Life of a Cowboy. It covers a wide range of subjects, and the locale seems to be really the Western Plains. The picture runs from a Western mining camp bar room to the arrival of a stagecoach at a ranch with tenderfeet quotations, because that's very offensive. The chase of cowboys through pretty woods and rolling fields, the recapture of the girl, and the tragic finale where an Indian girl shoots a murderous bad man.
Spoiler.
I don't want. You know what? I'm gonna give you any more away. Basically, their film review was just
Turns
like,
out he was dead all along.
And this happened, and he was dead all along. Through his years writing for Variety,
waste of a wedding cake.
Through his years writing for Variety, Silverman was known for his abrasive commentary on entertainment acts, long investigative pieces, cutting reviews of different things that were going on. Readers of Variety would rely on the magazine for financial news, show business profiles, stock quotations, advertisements, deal announcements, and box office grosses. And a lot of that was printed the same day, so there was this rush to get a Variety.
I guess that's the titular Variety.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
You get all this stuff.
By 1910, they were doing so well enough, they moved the paper to the second floor building of 45th and Broadway, the later site of Lowell's Theater in New York. And as much as vaudeville and variety industry clamored for Variety, the magazine, some of the acts that Silverman criticized hated him. The kingpin of the vaudeville circuit was Edward Albee of the Keith Albee chain. I believe we mentioned him briefly in Downtown
That sounds
Theater.
really familiar.
Yeah, I think he was the one that was ousted, and they, with his company, they made RKO. Pretty sure that was the Albee. It's not Edward Albee who wrote Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Never mind.
I got very confused. Albee only expected good reviews for his shows, and when Variety panned some of his acts, he blacklisted them, meaning he refused to run ads in the paper, and he refused to hire anyone who advertised themselves in the paper as well. Albee also told music publishers that if they retained their advertising in Variety, that they would never hear their numbers performed in Albee Theater, ever. Good guy.
Yeah.
Class act.
He's no Lummis.
He's no Lummis. He's opposite Lummis. He's Bizarro Lummis.
He's Simmel.
This proved to be a setback for Silverman and Variety, but refused to back down and tarnish the integrity of his magazine. But time wore on both these men, and they were exhausted by this tug of war, as I called it. So they signed an agreement that allowed advertising of Variety by Albee artists, and that allowed Variety reporters into Albee theaters. This rubbed many vaudeville actors, known as the White Rats. I don't know why, so don't ask me. There had been a strike in 1907 against Albee, and many of these White Rats clung to the side of Variety, but this handshaking deal was a smack to the face of any cutthroat strikers. So one of the White Rats tried to shoot Silverman in his office.
Oh my God.
The initial story was that a White Rat actor marched into the office and gunned Silverman down, but that's not really true. What it really happened was there was an actor, he got drunk and he shot at the window from ground level, and Silverman wasn't even in his office.
I thought it was going to be like a vaudeville routine. He'd go in to shoot him, but the gun is clogged. No, it's clogged, and he starts looking at it and he shoots himself. Classic vaudeville. Classic. Suicide joke. That's what vaudeville was built on.
The amount of suicide jokes. It was so funny pre-1950. So with the focus of Variety shifting from live performances to movies, Silverman decided to open a West Coast branch for Variety in, guess where? Hollywood, California. Sunshine, oranges, the palm trees.
Moranges. Which is a meat-flavored orange. A morange. Now we're finally in Los Angeles.
Finally,
Thank
after
God.
all this time in Los Angeles. The sun, what is this thing? Not everything's
So
a building
healthy.
made of rats. Silverman had been spending some summers in Los Angeles, dividing time actually between Palm Springs and LA. And in 1933, he decided to move to Los Angeles for what seems to be two reasons. The first was to start the West Coast branch of Variety, which was to be called the Daily Variety, with a fun green logo instead of the red logo that we've come to know with the East Coast Variety. The second reason was for his health. I don't know what ailment he suffered from, but he wasn't feeling well. He thought that moving to Los Angeles with a refreshing climate would help. And he died 2 weeks later. They found him dead from a heart attack.
Did he really?
Yeah, on September 22nd in his room at the Ambassador Hotel, lying on the bathroom floor.
Isn't that a Shaggy song? They found him in the bathroom of the Ambassador. He had tuberculosis.
Anyways, he's dead. After his death, it was found that he had left 51% of Variety to his wife and son, Hattie and Sid, and 49% to his employees, which is a really nice, good move on his part. Both Variety magazines, East Coast and West Coast, were survived with a combination of Silverman descendants and a bold editor-in-chief. His son Sid with an I, took over after his father died. Sid died along in 1950, weeks apart from the bureau chief of the Daily Variety, Arthur Unger. The next Silverman in line was Sid's son, Sid with a Y. After his father and grandmother Hattie died, this Sid took over. His legal guardian was a man named Harold Eriks, who
with a Y and an I.
Who started as an office boy in 1915 at Variety with Simon Silverman, and then took over with Abel Green before the next Sid took over. After this point,
Sid with an E and a weird accent mark.
I'm giving you just the history of all the managers because I'm not going to do it later.
There was Sid, and then there was Sid.
And then it was Sid with two I's. Sid with a Y and an I. Tom Pryor would be acting as chief of the West Coast Variety from the 50s to the 80s, and Sid with a Y's son, Michael Silverman, the great-grandson of Simon, would take over in the 80s.
I feel like this is a word game, just a tongue twister.
It's a word game that they've mixed with East of Eden. And after that, Peter Bart and Timothy Gray oversaw the magazine from that point forward.
Peter Bart, I know.
Yeah, he was a executive for like Paramount or something.
Yeah. And he used to have a TV show on Sunday mornings on Turner Classic Movies. It was Peter Bart and Peter Goober, who was another, I don't know who he was. I don't know who either. I didn't know who either of them were, but it was like almost like a podcast, but it was them talking to actors and movie makers, and it was really relaxing on a Sunday morning.
Nice. Were they older gentlemen and they talk in a relaxing tone?
They're so old. They would just rattle their dentures at the guy, and oh, that's just the noise that gets me going on a Sunday morning. That's my church. That's church for me.
That's church. They do that creepy sound where they have to readjust their dentures, but they don't want to use their mouth, so they go...
Yep, that was most of the show.
It took forever to get a sentence out. Daily Variety took off pretty quickly despite there being a depression going on. They had to struggle for a little bit, but they made it through.
We all struggle with that. We all struggle with the depression.
We all struggle with getting papers printed during our depression. The Daily Variety did really become the showbiz Bible. It delivered daily readings of box office numbers, ratings, cast.
Hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves because I have something to tell you about next that might be an alternate Bible.
Was it printed the same day?
Yes.
Getting mentioned in Daily Variety was a sign from the heavens that you had made it in Hollywood. Les Moonves, who was an actor before becoming the CBS executive, once took out a quarter-page ad to showcase his guest starring appearance on The $6 Million Man. The Daily Variety...
ridiculous.
It is. Everything is ridiculous. The Daily Variety introduced a really odd showbiz slang to the public. Words like bofo, which meant box office...
I think it's boffo.
Oh, is it boffo?
Because I remember Peter Goober, Bart.
God, you cannot stop advertising for this Goober guy.
He's really, you know.
Is that what The Adventures of Pete and Peter are about?
Yeah. It's about two old men that used to be movie executives and their adventures trying to fit their dentures on properly. He had a book called Boffo, I think.
Boffo,
Yeah.
which means big box office success. Odors, which means westerns. And legs, as in a film that is a long-running hit. Ankled was a term for an executive leaving a job. They also did these weird-ass headlines. One example I found, they're like, I have to do them in old-timey voice. Sticks, Nicks, Hick Picks, which stated rural audiences reject movies with farm themes.
This is so going along the line of everyone named Simon and Sid.
Exactly. No, this is the same. They had no way to express anger or their own like personal anguish, so they just did stupid
I'm
vaudeville
gonna
things.
rhyme about it.
Wall Street lays eggs, meaning the stock market crashed. This didn't die out either. This isn't just some old-timey thing I'm talking about. This is from January 2004. King nips ship with 11 noms. You want to try to guess what that means? I'm going to do it again. King nips ship with 11 noms.
King nips ship with 11 noms. I like this. This could be a new game we play.
Yeah,
Let me think.
old-timey headlines.
King nips ships
with 11 ship. Like a ship.
Okay, so 11 nominations. King...
Keep in mind this is January 2004 if that helps.
Okay,
context.
King what?
King nips
Okay.
ship with 11 noms.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Nips, you say?
Nips, meaning like you nip at something. Like you get it. Like you grab it. You jab it.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King sticks a finger in the eye of the establishment with 11 Oscar nominations.
You're pretty close. Return of the King beat out Daniel's favorite movie, Master and Commander, with 11 Academy Award nominations.
Wow,
you got really good. You're good at this. You're one of those Hollywood kids. You know.
I read Boffo, and I watched the Denture Brothers early on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, I watched The Adventures of Pete every morning. Daily Variety felt like its own guest star in shows. I certainly remember it being a staple of many episodes of I Love Lucy. Lucy cut so many squares out of Variety to keep Ricky from finding stuff out.
Let me try to come up with a headline for Little Ricky.
Okay.
Baba Cuba.
Baby Bongo.
Baby Bongo beats Red Sillies. I don't know.
That's as long as you say it in an old-timey voice, I'll take it. Apparently, it had a big to-do in Argo, but I didn't watch Argo. But I read that sentence enough times for me to believe it. Through the years, the Daily Variety...
Argo, research yourself. You wouldn't get it.
I'm glad that you had your mouth full of water and you swallowed it and you thought that out and you're like, yeah, I'm going to say that.
This is worth it. This will be good for me.
This was good for me. Through the years, the Daily Variety reported on many historical events. On May 3rd, 1945, the headline read, Studios Work VE Day, announcing that the studios would...
Clingy Cuban Cucks Comedy Queen.
That's fantastic.
There.
May 3rd, 1945, the headline reads, Studio Work VE Day, announcing that studios would go about their daily business instead of celebrating the day that World War II ended.
Back to work.
Why would I want that day off? Like, what? Like, there's sailors kissing nurses. Why would I? I'm writing about Orson Welles eating the 14th tuna sandwich. What do I care, right?
Corpulent Kane chows chicken of the sea. Citizen Chow. Citizen Chow tosses tuna.
Another headline, another issue read, Hitler's exit puts new life onto Frisco stage. I don't know what that meant. What? That's also about the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's about Tolkien. Daily Variety went on to cover the comedy witch hunt in Hollywood, the upheaval of the entertainment industry during the civil rights movement, and the impact of September 11th. With great-grandson Michael Silverman at the helm of Daily Variety, the magazine underwent a radical redesign, converted from manual typewriters to a fully computerized newsroom, and he launched several new products, including the just-introduced screening guides for Oscar voters. In 1987, the paper was sold to the Connors Publication Company, a division of the British-owned Reed Publishing Company. After this, the West Coast and the East Coast branches of Variety were merged, and it became an all-inclusive entertainment publication, Variety. Prior to the merger, the New York publication circulated to 30,000 readers, and the LA publication served about 22,000 readers. The 20th century has not been kind to too many paper publications, and as the years pass more and more...
The days of 800-page issues are long gone.
In 2013, with their numbers waning, the Daily Variety decided to cease printing 5 days a week and simply went down to Tuesday issues of Variety. Weekly Variety would stop publications altogether, and the Variety, for the most part, would exist online. It would also drop a paywall and be free for readers online, a move made by their rival, DHR, Hollywood Reporter.
The Hollywood Reporter.
Theo's only one. But many consider Variety to be one of the most renowned and vital entertainment reportings out there, not only because of their output, but because the name means something after all these years.
But Variety still puts out like a print thing.
Yeah, like once a week. But we don't have like our own, like just West Coast. Like
it's all
because the world's connected because we're all in the internet.
Don't remind me.
Oh God,
I'm supposed to be able to communicate easily with someone in Montana.
No, I don't. Why would I want to? Okies.